Ladies and gentlemen, the last segment, we have arrived, the stage is set. I'm going to invite up on stage Rishad, who's going to be in conversation with none other than Aamir Khan. Please put your hands together for the most awaited conversation that we've all been waiting for today.
So we still have some seats available here, so I know there's a lot of people standing at the back, but okay, they've been taken. So, first of all, I just want to sort of welcome you to this final session of the 3-day NASSCOM Technology and Leadership Forum, and I hope you guys have had a fabulous few days, taken away a lot of things, and thank you for being here for this closing finale session. If you don't know our next guest, you've probably been living under a rock for the last 30 years. Aamir Khan is an actor, he's a filmmaker, he's a movie star, he's a storyteller, he's a communicator, and what I'm most impressed with is a humanitarian. Right? We'll hear a lot about the work that he's doing with the Pani Foundation. And by the way, if you haven't seen his latest documentary, which is called Rubaru Roshani, I would strongly recommend you go out and see it. It's about 3 fabulous stories that talk about the power of love, hate, and forgiveness, and I found it very powerful, and hopefully you guys will enjoy it as well. So, Aamir, thank you for being here, and I know you landed this morning after a delayed flight from New York, so we very much appreciate you being here, despite being jet-lagged and being awake, so thank you.
If I yawn in the middle, just don't hold it against me. I haven't slept for really long.
No, you'll be great, you'll be fine.
No, but I'm looking forward to the session, so I'm glad I'm here. Thank you.
So I have to ask one question on the movies, right? I'm a big movie fan. I've seen many of your movies, whether you talk about Tare Zameen Par, Dangal, Lagan, Three Idiots. And you have this incredible ability to make movies that have incredible cinema with mass appeal, and they have great learning in them. And I don't know whether you do it by design or by accident, but you do that magically. So how do you do that?
Well, actually, filmmaking is not one person's... It's not a one-person thing, It's a number of people who come together to make a film. And it all begins with the writer. The writer is the person who starts it off by thinking of a story. And then the director gets involved, the producer gets involved, and at some point the actor comes in. So it's a piece of work, a film is a piece of work which is actually a result of a number of people coming together. So if you have liked a film, the fact is that people look at the stars and assume it's my film, But actually, it's not just my film. It's the writer's film, the director's film, and I'm one of the persons contributing to the film. So I've had the good fortune of working with some really talented writers and directors, and I've had the good fortune of having come across some great stories which I've loved and which have been told very well, and I've worked with a team of people who have, each one has done such wonderful work, and that has ended up becoming the film that you have liked so much. So it's a lot of us coming together.
Do you have a favorite movie, a favorite role, a favorite actor?
A favorite actor, yes. I do have, I think Dilip Kumar is one of my favorite actors who I've seen. He's one of my favorite actors. And
favorite movie and favorite role, perhaps your...
Oh, my own?
Yeah.
I find it very difficult to select from my own work. I'm emotionally close to all of it. It's very difficult for me to be objective, So I find it very difficult to answer.
Well, Tare Zameen Par is my favorite movie of yours, so I'll tell you what I like at least.
Okay.
Look, you've obviously been very successful, Aamir, and I'm assuming it's more than just talent, because a lot of people are very talented and have not been as successful. Talk a little bit about your work ethic, how do your approach to your work, like we have our approach to our work in the technology industry.
I think that like in every profession, I think what's really important is the love that you have for the work that you're doing, the passion and love that you have, how hardworking you are, how much you apply yourself. All of this really matters. But I have to say one thing, that this is one field, filmmaking or this world of films and acting, this is one field where your talent, your hard work, your passion, your abilities, your work ethics, all of this is not necessarily directly proportionate to your success. So this is one field in which you'll find people who are not very talented, who actually are not hardworking at all, are very lazy, but they do really well, yeah. I'm not joking. And then there are people who are very hardworking, they're really talented, and you feel, yaar, what an actor, yeah, what an actress. But they don't manage to achieve that kind of success that they should have got, that the success that they deserve to get. So I always say that this is one profession where you may be very talented, you may be very hardworking, but you may not be as successful as the next guy. And that is that X factor, which you can't put your finger on. What is it that people like about a particular actor, who may not be as talented as the other? What is that intangible thing we can't explain? What makes me a star and not the other person? It's a very difficult thing.
But it's more than luck, I'm assuming and hoping.
Some of it is luck. See, luck is something, I don't believe in luck in that sense. So luck is the word I give to certain things to describe things that have happened in the past. Ab ye cheez hui hai. It was my good fortune that something happened which I was not in control of, but it happened. So I give it the name of luck. But I don't, use the word luck in the future. I hope I'm lucky that something happens. I don't depend on luck.
Let's move a little bit. When we met earlier this year, you were talking a lot about feelings. And it's important to express your feelings. And oftentimes when you want to appeal to people's minds, you have to appeal to people's hearts.
Yeah.
Right? And we work in an industry, it's the technology industry, where oftentimes, and maybe perhaps as a country as well, if I can go so far, we're oftentimes told to curtail very emotive expression of our feelings, right? And especially in more professional services jobs. So talk a little bit about that, because that's such an important, powerful way of actually getting to people on important things by getting to their hearts.
I think we were discussing Satyamev Jayate.
Correct.
That time. Yeah, I was explaining at that time that, when we take topics, so Satyamev Jayate is a television show that we did, in which we picked up a lot of social issues and, researched as best as we could and then shared that with people. So all of what we were sharing on the show was all factual. However, it was a combination of, very hard journalism and storytelling. And because I've always believed that I don't want to convince a person intellectually. I want to touch the person's heart. I want to change how you feel internally about something. I want to touch you, in very, on a gut level. So I'll give an example. The first episode we did was on female feticide. Now, one of the things that I was very clear about is that I don't want people to know what is my show about. So if you remember in the entire marketing of Satyamev Jayate, you didn't know what it was about. And even after you saw the first episode, you never knew what the topic of the next episode is. And that was very consciously done. The moment I tell you, Sunday को मैं आपको 11 बजे दिखा रहा हूँ कन्या भ्रूण हत्या. I'm willing to bet nobody will put the TV on. Kanya Bhrun Hatya pata hai humko yaar. We know female feticide, yeah. We read in the papers every time. I don't want to watch it. So you would not put your TV on only. But because there's a suspense ki pata nahi kya baat karega aaj. So you put your TV on. So that's the first step of storytelling. Already I've done over there. I've got you, thoda suspense hai ki kya hoga aaj. Now, when I start the show, I don't say that, welcome for the first episode and today we're going to talk about female feticide. I don't do that. Because I'm willing to bet that the moment I say, today we're going to talk about female feticide, that's when you'll put the TV off. So instead, I start by saying that, I often ask people, who's the most important person in your life? And usually people say, it's my mother. And there's a very good reason for that. And then I speak about motherhood and how each one of us is so deeply and strongly connected with our mother. I talk about my own mother. And I bring you into this emotional state where you're also thinking about your own mother and how important it is to you. And then I say that, but how are we treating our mothers today? Let's take a look. Let's meet a mother. And we meet our first guest of the show, who's a lady who's been through 6 abortions in 8 years. Now, I'm not calling her a Mahila. I'm calling her a mother. So the way you see her will change dramatically. I've brought you emotionally into that stage where you think about your own mother. So this is the storytelling part of it. Is the facts of her story accurate? Yes, totally. But I've prepared you emotionally to receive it in a different way. So you're now engaged in watching what is happening to a mother. And therefore you're reacting like that. When we, and often our audience, there was a live audience in our show, they never knew what the topic was. So I remember one of our topics was domestic violence. And our audience was all male. And I started the show by saying that, today we have all males in the audience. These are the bodyguards of society, the people who look after us and all. So they were quite thrilled. They didn't know what was coming. And then I said, where do you think our women are most unsafe in society? So each one of them gave me their opinion. They said, at night, raat ko, sunsan, gali mein, they are not safe. Sometimes in public transport, they get teased, etc., etc. So they give different examples of where women are not safe. And I said, even I thought that. Even I thought that. And I have not exposed the topic yet. I said, but how do you find out? So I told my team, go to the nearest hospital and see the women coming in, because a woman who's injured will go to a police station and to a hospital. Police station, she may or may not go. She might not go. Some women are hesitant to go. But hospital, she will go to get herself fixed. So go to the hospital and find out why women have come with injuries. What are the injuries? What is the source of those injuries? And then we discovered in Baba Hospital, which is in Bandra, in a city like Mumbai, which is supposed to be one of the safer cities in India. In Bandra, whereas in the show I had said, jahan Dilwale bhi rehta hai, aur bodyguard bhi rehta hai, aur Rangila bhi rehta hai. The three Khans all stay in Bandra. So उस hospital में हम जब गए तो पता लगा कि more than 50 to 60% of the women who were there had come because they were beaten up at home. And so I sum up that entire introduction, which is about 15-20 minutes, in which I say that so our women in our society may or may not be injured in a lonely road or in a bus stop or in a train, but 50% के ऊपर chances है कि घर पे पिटने वाले हैं. That's when the topic locks in. But there is a drama to that storytelling, and then you're sitting and you want to know more. So I feel that the other important thing was that when we were researching this in the very early stages, I remember that, when you go through any topic that we are talking about in our society, there are all kinds of people in society. So sometimes you get very angry. You feel when you come across certain things that you come to know, your blood boils and you get very angry. And I remember in our core team, there were some of us who said, we should really. They were very angry and they were like, we should say this and we should do that. And so I immediately said, one second, I'm not sure that that's how I would like to do it. Because we have to identify the fundamental emotion with which we are doing this show. Why am I doing this show? I have to ask myself. Am I doing this show out of anger? Then it will have a particular slant, it will have a particular language. I'm not doing this show out of anger. I'm doing it out of love. I'm doing it because I love my country. I love the people in my society. And I'm hoping to collectively sit and understand something. So I'm doing it, my primary emotion is love. It's not anger. So I don't want to be angry. Number one. Number two, I want to very consciously and very accurately include myself in the problem. So I cannot be telling anyone कि आप अपनी जिंदगी में, I have to say हम अपनी जिंदगी में क्या कर रहे हैं. If you know what I'm trying to say. When we are talking about untouchability, 15% roughly is the Dalit population in India. So in other words, we are talking to 85% of the population who's not Dalit. And we are trying to say that, are we doing something wrong? Can we think about it? If I say it in anger, it's going to have no impact. I have to say it with love. And I feel that love. I feel that love. When I was talking about anti-dowry on one of our episodes, the TV that people are watching the show on has probably come in dowry. Correct me if I'm wrong. अब मैं उनको बोल रहा हूं डाउरी ठीक नहीं है. तो अगर मैं गुस्से में बोलूंगा तो कहां सुनने वाले मेरी बात? वो बहुत प्यार से बोलना पड़ेगा और वो प्यार उनको आप वो फेक नहीं कर सकते. You cannot fake that love. You have to feel that. You have to feel that love. Only then the person sitting across will also feel it and respond appropriately. So I feel that, storytelling is such an important part of our lives. It's such an important part. Right from the childhood, I remember my mom used to tell me stories. The cook in our house, she used to tell us stories. My grandmother used to tell us stories. And now me and Kiran, we tell Azad stories. So I think storytelling is, very deep-rooted in all of us. So whenever we want to make a change, make an impact, I think that is, fundamentally, I've always felt that, there are two ways of approaching things. You can either approach things from the top. So if you want that there should be no more female feticide, you can make a law about it, and there are wonderful laws on it. But that has not changed the outcome. Because female feticide is a crime that is planned in a bedroom. You can't have a cop in every bedroom. So will the law change things? No, it's not going to change things. It will only happen when you change hearts. So you have to start from bottom instead of up. क्योंकि ऊपर से आप लॉ डालोगे, पॉलिसी करोगे. बट वो पॉलिसी जब तक मुझे अग्री नहीं होगी तो मैं करूंगा ही नहीं. It is only when I feel that, I don't want to kill my girl child. Yeah. When I feel that, then there is no need for a law.
It's incredible, Amar, we must say, the kind of mass visibility you brought to issues on such a scale with such humility and such love was quite incredible. So it's really been a terrific movement. So thank you for that. One of the stories you also shared in another conversation I heard you had was that it was a very emotionally difficult time for you when you were making Satyamev Jayate because you went up and down. And I remember you shared this story where it said that, there were times where you wanted to give up. It was just not worth it. It was so deep and so dark. You didn't think anything could be done. And then you'd meet someone who had no political capital, no economic capital, no social capital, doing amazing work despite all the odds. And that would be your reason to carry on. Can you share a story or two of those kinds of people?
Almost in every episode, we used to go through this roller coaster of emotions, Because when you're researching any topic, as material gets thrown up, I used to get more and more depressed. I used to be crying. I cry very easily. So I used to get very badly affected by what I used to see in the research. And then as I was telling you that day, suddenly there would be one person who would come up in the research and the person has no financial power, no political power, nothing. But वो ऐसे चट्टान की तरह खड़ा है. He's got so much courage and has such a big heart that one person in the small corner of India will inspire you and feel कि यार नहीं यार. There is hope. And hope is the most wonderful thing. Because hope can, make you achieve, you can achieve almost anything if you have hope with you. And I'll tell you one story, there was this episode we did which was on honor killings. And there was a story we did about Manoj and Babli, this couple who was murdered. And Manoj had a sister and a mother. Now, the mother was, I think, an uneducated lady staying in a village. His sister was educated, but both women. The father was not there. Now, when they got killed, these two women were pretty in a, difficult situation. And because it was a very emotive issue of caste, it was a lot of tension for them. And in the village, they were ostracized. They were ostracized to the extent that they could not, nobody in the village would sell them the kalash to put the ashes of their son. they had to travel somewhere else to buy that. That was the level of them being boycotted. Now, I want to tell you something, that in a city like Mumbai, in which we feel that we are very educated and we are very, we have a lot of strength in us in many ways. We are quite privileged. मुंबई जैसी सिटी में अगर कोई पॉलिटिकल पार्टी बंद का ऐलान करती है, हम में से कोई घर से निकलता नहीं है, सब डर जाते हैं, पत्थर मारेंगे, घर पे बैठो भाई. We stay at home. We get scared. These two women, who we think are village women, who are not strong or not powerful, by our conventional understanding, these two women take on these people here. They do a police complaint, they get threatened, they get threats, they get political pressure on them, they are offered money. Everything is thrown at them, but they don't relent. Now, where do they get that strength from? Because they are only two women alone in that village, and anything can happen to them and nobody will know also. तो उनको ये हिम्मत कहाँ से आती है? Where do they get this strength? Conventionally we say, "Arey, women are weak," and especially village women, what do they know? So, in my experience of the entire journey of Satyameva Jayate, I saw the country as I had never seen, because I have lived a very sheltered life. I saw the people of this country as I have never seen, and it was a very enriching journey for me, because one, I learned a lot. Two is, I met some of the most amazing people who have, made me grow as an individual. And going through that entire journey of the first season was very traumatic for me, to the extent that I had become very emotionally brittle. I was in very bad shape. At the end of that 1 year, I couldn't go out anywhere in public, because for absolutely no reason at all, I would just break down. I was a, emotional wreck, I have to say. And I, also spoke to a doctor and got some help. But it was while it was very, because I'm not trained, to listen to emotional issues of people and keep a distance. I'm not able to do that. I get involved and I feel that thing's happening. Jo iske saath ho raha hai. Just one of the guests who had come said that because of road rage, his son was beaten to death on the road. Now when he was telling me the story, I was thinking of Junaid, my son. मेरे माइंड में ये आ रहा था कि यार अगर कोई ऐसा जुनैद के साथ करे तो what will I feel? My poor son is on the road alone, lonely, and these three people are beating him up mercilessly and killing him. So I used to always put myself in the person very naturally. And as a result, it took a big toll on me emotionally, when I went through that first season. But I have to say it was the most enriching experience for me. And I think that, there is so much hope in our country, in the people, in their strength. See, there are all kinds of people everywhere, But I think there is a lot of positivity in people across our country. I believe that. I believe that.
So tell us, Amir, where did we come from Amir, the movie star, to Amir, the person with a social conscience this deep, right? And perhaps something from your childhood, something in your formative years that perhaps had a strong influence
Actually,
in the way you think and believe.
My mom has had a very big influence on me. She's been a big influence on me. And my mother is someone who's very soft-spoken. She's very... I've never heard her raise her voice, even to me. I mean, to us kids. And she's someone who has the ability to think for the other person. All of us have got different intelligences. All of us have got different strengths. One of the most rare strengths I feel is the ability to care for another person who is not related to you. Everyone cares for their own parents and children and wife and all that. But the ability to care for someone who's not, on the face of it related to you, is a very beautiful quality and very rare quality. And that quality my mother has. And I'll tell you what happened, and it had a big influence on me at a very young age. I think I was 11 or 12 years old at that time. And I used to play a lot of tennis. And I used to play the circuit, and I was a pretty good tennis player, sub-juniors. In fact, I was Maharashtra #1 in sub-juniors. It's about 5-6 hours of tennis. I was crazy about tennis. So, and my mom used to, she knew how excited I was about the game. I couldn't sleep at night, when I have a match the next day. So when I would come back from the match, she would be waiting for me. And she would ask me, what happened? Jeete ke hare? So I would say, Ammi, jeete. Usually I used to win. So my answer usually used to be, yes, I won. One day what happened is, I came home and she asked me, what happened? Did you win? I said, yeah, I won. So she gave me a hug. Then we were sitting together. And suddenly she said, वो लड़का जो तुमसे हारा आज, वो भी अभी घर पहुंचा होगा. और उसके माँ ने उसको पूछा होगा कि तुम जीते के हारे. और उसने अपनी माँ को बोला होगा कि मैं हारा. तो इस वक्त उसकी माँ को बुरा लग रहा होगा. So when she said that, it was like someone had, hit me in the stomach suddenly. I'd never thought of that boy reaching home and then his mother asking him, did you win or lose? And then his mother feeling bad that my son has lost. Mera mind to udhar gaya hi nahi, bhai.
But I'm sure it's an 11-year-old mind that may have been
No,
complex,
but when she
right?
told me that, I was like looking at her and she was in her thoughts, she was thinking, and she was feeling bad, that lady must be feeling bad right now. Now, what is that quality she has that she's able to think of this lady out of the blue? She's not even seen that boy. This she must have told me 2-3 times in my tennis years. Often she used to sit and say, wo bichara ladka jo haar gaya, uski maa ko bura lag raha hoga. So suddenly I was like, maybe I shouldn't win. शायद मुझे हारना चाहिए. But उसका असर एक ये हुआ, I used to still try to win only. But at least after that happened, when I used to play against any other boy, I used to look into his eyes. अब क्या वो मेरे लिए इंसान हो गया. पहले वो मेरे लिए सिर्फ opponent हुआ करता था. I just have to beat him. He's just an opponent. I don't care who he is. But now suddenly he became a human being, just like me, who's got a mother just like me, and who's going to go home after this match. So thoda ek emotion change hua.
It was a fabulous story. So your mother taught you to care, maybe intentionally or accidentally.
No,
but
it was
she told-
accidentally. She was not trying to teach me anything.
Yeah, it was fabulous. Let's move gears a little bit, because I want to spend some time on the Pani Foundation. You're doing some phenomenal work there, focused in Maharashtra, which is a state with a lot of water scarcity. Tell us about how the Pani Foundation came to be. Tell us about some of the work that you're doing there and the impact that you're having.
Well, it started like this because we had done 3 seasons of Satyamev Jayate and we had got a huge amount of success. We noticed that there were major, changes on ground. I'll just give you a few quick ones to give you an example. For example, Alcoholics Anonymous. One of the episodes we did was on alcoholism. Alcoholics Anonymous in the last 65 years has had a membership of 35,000 at that time. When our episode aired and we flashed the number of Alcoholics Anonymous, their membership went up in, I think, 4 weeks. It went up to 4 lakhs. So it had a big impact. The number of, for example, in Rajasthan, the girl-to-boy ratio is now actually balanced. It's unbelievable in Rajasthan now.
It's really amazing.
And for example, in Madhya Pradesh, the health secretary saw our episode and decided that he wants to provide generic medicines in all the government hospitals. So just imagine how many people who were earlier not able to get medication are suddenly now they are able to get medication. Lakhs of people would have been helped by that one administrative officer who realized, yaar, ye karna chahiye, because that's happening in Tamil Nadu, that's happening in Rajasthan. So he decided to do it in Madhya Pradesh. So I'm saying things like this happened and we realized that there's a lot of movement happening, a lot of good things happening, with administration taking, very active steps. So that made us think that what if we actually don't go from one episode to the next? What if we stick to one topic and try and work and remain in that topic and see if we continue to be communicators, But can we as communicators have a bigger impact if we stay with one topic instead of moving on to the next? And that is how Pani Foundation came into being. Both Satya and I felt that it's a good idea, we should try it. And we decided that we should start with, the topic we wanted to start with was water and Maharashtra, because both of us are from Maharashtra. Both of us are Maharashtrians, and also Maharashtra has been having a severe water problem. So we decided to, start on that. And the first 1 year we took in researching the issue to understand what the ground realities are. And it's a very vast topic, so I'm going to try and crunch it as best as I can. See, what we've understood is that the solution, what we finally understood after going through research, is decentralized watershed management. So, and this, what also happened is I met the CM, incidentally, Mr. Devendra Fadnavis, at that same time. And I was telling him that we are thinking of doing this. And he was very excited and he was very supportive, because he's also been very keen to try and solve this problem. And he has started a scheme at that time called Jal Yug Shivara. And he said that I'm very keen that you should come on board. So actually his entire team made a presentation to us. And what we realized at the end of the presentation, it was an 8-hour meeting that we had. What we realized is that our thoughts are very similar with what the Maharashtra present government is thinking. That the solution lies in decentralized watershed management. That is also the same conclusion that they had come upon. Because Maharashtra, incidentally, has 40% of all the large dams in India, they are in Maharashtra. And despite that, we reach something like 18% of the agricultural land. So a large part of it is not serviced. So decentralized watershed management is what the solution is, which is what we felt. Now the reason we came to that conclusion is that through drought, through years of drought, we found that there are certain villages which are in the drought-prone areas, but they are green. They are having water, even in the months of April and May. There are not many villages, handful of them, during our research. So Mr. Popatrao Pawar's village, for example, is one of them. Now, why has this village got water even in being in the drought area? It's because they are doing watershed management. So, when we realized that, our first question was that if one village has found the answer, why is the neighboring village not picking it up? अगर मुझे कोई प्रॉब्लम है तो आपके पास सॉल्यूशन है, मैं देखता हूं तो मैं आपसे पूछूंगा कि भाई how have you solved the problem? For some reason it's not spreading. That was one big challenge in front of us. So we spent about a year trying to understand the issues on a deeper level, and we discovered that actually that Popatrao's village is actually a rare village. And the rarity is, is that the village has come together. And that is why they have been able to solve the problem. So actually, if you want to solve the water problem, you have to come together. वो कोई एक आदमी अलग से नहीं कर सकता. वो एक्वाफर का जो पानी है, वो तो हमारे धरती के नीचे है. अगर मैंने बोरवेल डाला और मैंने खींच लिया, तो मैं तो आपका भी पानी खींच रहा हूं. So unless we collectively decide that this is how we are going to use our water, it's not going to work. So, first of all, they have to collectively decide that let's not use bore wells. Now, that decision itself is a difficult decision. The whole village has to come together and decide. ठीक है, हम लोग मुंबई में हाउसिंग सोसाइटी में वॉचमैन की फीस कितनी होनी चाहिए, उस पर हम झगड़ा करते हैं. Correct me if I'm wrong. In our housing societies, which are called cooperative housing societies, we are not able to cooperate on anything. So the same problem exists in villages also. People are divided. They are divided on, in this case, what we discovered is they are divided on political lines. There are 5 political parties in every village. And they are loggerheads with each other. There's caste differences. There's differences of, people who are landowners and non-landowners, people who are landowners whose land is close to the stream or water body, someone who's not. So there's so many, we're fractured. So the real task before us was, what we figured is that Uh, I hope I'm not going on too long. Am I boring you all? Okay, okay. So to try and solve this problem, what we thought is that we need to try and create some excitement around it. And we came up with this concept of creating a competition, a watershed management competition. Now, you have dance competitions on TV and singing competitions and all of that. Ye pan load ka competition, watershed management competition. Now, I'm sure none of you all, or most of you all, don't know any of this. And the reason is because all of this we did as communicators in Marathi channels. Because the people we are addressing are not you guys. You all don't live in villages. So we are not wasting our breath trying to convince you about all this. So the last 4 years we've been doing this with rural Maharashtra. So we are on all the rural channels. In the Marathi channels we are there. In fact, in the first year, we were on all the channels. Sorry, in the first year we were on ABP Maza. In the second year we were on all 8 or 9 Marathi channels, all. So usually Marathi channels any channels have a rivalry. GECs, news. I called all of them to my house and I said, listen, we have to do this for water. So I'm going to make a program which I want all of you all to air. Same day, same time. So at that time, if you're living in Maharashtra and you're watching a Marathi channel, you're only watching about the Satyamev Jayate Water Cup. We called it Satyamev Jayate Water Cup because we realized that Satyamev Jayate has a strong resonance with people across the state. They really believe in it. So we called it Satyamev Jayate Water Cup. Now, that water cup, to take part in it, the village has to do 2 things. One, they have to hold a Gram Sabha, which means the Panchayat cannot take this decision. It is a general body which will meet and pass a resolution that they want to be part of this water cup. And 2 is that they will send 5 people to us for training. These are the 2 conditions that they have to do. We don't give any village any money. So we don't give any village, not a single rupee is given to a village. What we give the village is training. We train those 5 people in how to do watershed management. We give them expert support. So whenever they need any questions, some doubts, or they need help, our people are there to help them. So we started with 3 talukas. Maharashtra has got, I think, 358 or 353 talukas. So we started in 3, one in Western Maharashtra, one in Vidarbha, one in Marathwada. So roughly one taluka will have 100, 110 villages. So the first year we began as an experiment. What was that experiment? The experiment was this, that can a village solve its own problem? So we will explain to the village how to solve the problem, but we will not help them. We will not provide them machines, we will not provide them money, we will only provide them know-how, encouragement and expert advice whenever they need it. But the village has to recognize that this is their problem, and they have to recognize that they have to be the solution, and they have to believe that actually it is in their hands and not in anybody else's hands. We can actually solve our problem is the belief that we needed over there. So the experiment was, 1, will any village apply to us to be a part of this competition? Why would they do that? 2, if they apply, will they send 5 people to us for training? 3, if they send 5 people to us for training, is our training good enough? Because we have just learned the science of watershed management ourselves. And having learnt it, we have created a syllabus of 5 days. We train them in over 5 days. तो वो जो syllabus है, हमारी जो training है, वो ठीक ठाक है कि नहीं? वो 5 बंदे आएंगे, वो कुछ सीखेंगे, समझेंगे कि नहीं? We don't know how good our training is. I mean, we think it's good, but will it actually be effective? After our training, let's assume our training is good. After our training, when they go back to the village, these 5 people are going to lead that village. Will they be able to lead the village? Will the village be led by them? Will they finally actually do the work? Will all of this happen? Yes, no, was a big question. And the first year was a resounding success. Out of the 116 villages that took part, about 40 to 45 villages did outstanding work. And when I'm saying outstanding work means it's unbelievable work. And it is not just the work, it is their whole attitude with which they have attacked this is worth watching. Even if one village had done that, our experiment would have been successful. But 40 to 45 villages did that. Another 30 villages did medium level work, and about 20-25 villages did very little work. So we had post-mortem sessions to understand, why people got left behind, etc., etc. But what was important was that we realized that it's possible to do. So in the second year, we went from 3 talukas to 30 talukas. This time we were testing it for scale. And then in the third year, we went from 30 talukas to 75 talukas. And this year, we are again in 75 talukas because this is election year, as we all know. 2019 is election. I don't want to go into a new taluka and discover things, So, abhi kya hai? So, but I have to say 2-3 things over here. One, the support that we have got from the Maharashtra government has been outstanding. Not just from the government, but also from the administration. They have been really supportive. I always feel that, there are all kinds of people everywhere here. And Satya, who's the person who's the CEO of Pani Foundation, he and I often discuss, हम लोग बहुत सालों से बोलते आ रहे हैं कि यार इंडिया में बहुत करप्शन है, इंडिया में बहुत करप्शन है, कुछ भी करने जाओ तो कुछ होता नहीं, कुछ भी करने जाओ कुछ होता नहीं. Until you give money, nothing happens. Correct? We discussed this. We have not given 1 paisa to anybody. Not to any government person, not to any villager, nobody. So how is it happening? How is it happening? If India is so corrupt, and certainly we have experienced corruption, I'm not saying it's not there, but what I realized is that like negativity spreads negativity, the same way positivity also spreads positivity. You see, that is also is infectious. And there are people within the system who really want to do good work. They really want to do good work. And often they feel cornered that they are not able to do. So, unko to ekdam opportunity mil gaya. So, the guys who wanted to do good work, they came out, really strongly in support. I'm talking of collectors, I'm talking of tehsildars, I'm talking of gram sevaks, I'm talking of krishi sahayaks, right down to the grassroots level completely. BDOs. So suddenly we felt that, there's such positivity and people really want to do. We've had great success over the 3 years that we've been, this is the 4th year. And hopefully next year we will reach 150 talukas. The day we reach 150 talukas, we would have covered all of drought-prone Maharashtra. So right now we are, and you must remember Maharashtra is bigger than Germany. It's a huge state. So I think it's gone really well.
That's terrific, and it's...
the biggest thing if you go on our website, you'll get to know all the details of how much storage capacity that the villagers have created. It's unbelievable. But what is even greater is the social changes that have happened, which really are amazing. And I'll give you a few stories. There's this village where there were these women of a particular community who, once they get married and they come to the house, they never leave the house. They never leave the house. And they don't even meet their neighbors. In that village, when that village decided to take part in the water cup, the sarpanch was of that community, and he went for the training. Now our training, I must tell you, I missed a little bit of the training part, but our training has turned out to be a super success. In the first year, most of the villagers came and told us that we thought it is going to be a very boring thing and all. We didn't bring clothes. We thought कि हम लोग आएंगे और एक दिन के बाद भाग जाएंगे. But all of them had to start making phone calls to their house saying कि कपड़े भेजो, because वो लोग कपड़े के बगैर आए थे. So what we did in the training was that we created everything in games. Everything was in an experiential way. So for example, we would start the day by what is called a Shivar Feri, which means you take the group of 40 people, a class of 40, you take them across the village. and you show them the village. Now, where is the training center? It's not in Mumbai, it's not in Pune. The training center is Popatrao Pawar's village, or a village which has already done watershed management work. That becomes our training ground. And what is fascinating is that the villages which have done, the handful of villages which had done watershed management work, when we told them that we would like to use your village as a training center, they were most supportive. They said, your trainees who come from different villages, they will stay in our houses. So we didn't need any hotel accommodation. And we have now, in 75 talukas, we've still not needed hotel accommodation. I'm saying how the villagers have such large hearts.
Yeah.
So, Shivar Pheri mein, normally at the end of the Shivar Pheri, we ask them, what do you feel different? Aapne apna gaon to dekha hi hai, and you've seen this village, what is the difference? So usually they say that, this village is very green and all that. And obviously over here it rains. In our village it doesn't rain. And we have no water in our village, it doesn't rain. So then we pull out the records and we tell them that in your village, last year the rain was, maybe 300 millimeters or 270 millimeters. And this village was 220. So it was less than your village. But still it is green. तो थोड़ा एक टंग घंटी बजती है उनको कि हाँ कुछ तो लग रहा है. Then we have a game which is called the straw game. The straw game is a very simple game. We divide the 40 people into 4 teams, and each team has a grandfather, a father, and a son. 3 generations. We have a tub which is full of water, and we give them straws. And we tell them that first the grandfathers will come. The game is that you have to pull the water out from the straw and fill it in a bottle. And you will be timed. And at the end of the timing of the grandfathers, then will be the sons, then will be the grandchildren. Whoever collects more water, that team wins. So first the grandfathers are brought in, and their timing is started, and they start pulling, and the sons and the grandsons are cheering them, come on, pull करके वो सब खींच रहे हैं पानी, bottle में डाल रहे हैं. When that time gets over, water obviously becomes less in the tub. So we add a little water. We say, now is the turn of the sons. So the sons come in and start pulling the water. Their timing is over. And then is a turn of the grandchildren. And by now the tub is almost empty. So when the grandchildren come to play the game, they immediately say, अरे इसमें पानी ना डालो, हम लोग पानी कैसे खींचेंगे? Put the water. And we don't answer them. We keep quiet. It hits home so strongly, they realize that what we are doing is that we are pulling water out from the earth, and our children and our grandchildren are going to suffer very badly. Now what happens is, in India, we are quite cynical in many ways, but one thing we are still emotional about is our children. बच्चों का हमको, अगर मुझे कोई बोलेगा ना तुम्हारा बच्चा सफर करने वाला है, मैं बोलूंगा नहीं मेरे को क्या करना है अभी इसके लिए. I don't want my children to suffer. So that emotion is intact in all of us. Now all our teaching in our syllabus is in this form. It's in the form of games. It's in the form of experiential learning. So this entire, we have technical trainers and we have social trainers. So this entire experience that they go through in the training is something that really excites them. And that is what galvanizes them, and they go back and, it's
amazing. It's amazing.
And what we've been doing, I'll just say the last thing is that we've been entirely on Marathi channels in this. So I don't know how many of you are Maharashtrian over here. So you all might be knowing a little bit about Pani Foundation, but the rest would not know much about it. Because we've been exclusively communicating this to our
So it's
villagers.
the best kept secret, and hopefully we spread it. And the amazing thing is that how much good can come out of people collaborating and driving to a cause. We're running desperately out of time, so I'm going to shut up. I have lots of questions, but we'll open it up to the audience for a few questions.
Okay.
So if people want to put up their hands very quickly, and then a mic will get to them, you're okay to run a few minutes over if you're okay, right?
No problem.
Go ahead. You'll use a mic because people behind you won't be able to hear.
Just use a mic.
And then we'll come to you, sir, and then...
You're a known perfectionist, but things can only be near perfect, right? And sometimes the quest for perfection leads to inaction. You know, you can look at 50 ideas and round up an idea, or you can look at thousands of them and still not round up on an idea.
Correct.
So, and you can also do the same thing with the scripts, right?
Correct.
Where do you put a stop?
Correct.
And still be perfect. You are,
Yeah.
you are not known for inaction. So,
Yeah.
we have much to learn from you there.
Well, you know, actually, the fact is that it's the media which has called me a perfectionist. It's the media that's given me this label. And I suspect the reason they gave me this label is because usually, you know, after having 3-4 successes, then statistically, it's time for you to have a film that is not successful. Now, for very long, I didn't have a non-successful film. Now, recently, I've had, of course. Statistics has finally caught up with me. But for very long, I didn't.
It hurts.
So at that time, I think they didn't understand कि इसका film flop ही नहीं होता है यार. So they said कि यार ये perfectionist है. So they didn't think exactly what they're saying. They just called me a perfectionist. The fact is that I believe that there's no such thing as perfect. There is no such thing. And certainly in the creative field, though, there is no such thing as creative. Everything is, you know, fluid. And it is what you feel. It is individuals' feelings that come out in a film. So there's no such thing as perfect. So when you ask me, how do I select a film? When I'm listening to a script or I'm reading a script, at that time I'm like the audience watching a film. And when I'm reading the script, if I get excited by what I'm reading, if I laugh, if I cry, if it touches me, moves me, excites me, you know, I just love what I've just read or what I've just heard, then I want to do it. I don't think beyond that. So once I love something, I want to do it. That's how I did Dangal. That's how I did Lagan. That's how I did, you know, Tare Zameen Par. Any of these films. Within seconds, I have decided that I'm doing this film. It doesn't take me more than 2-3 minutes. The moment the script gets over, Sarfarosh, the moment the script got over, I said, John, I'm doing this film. He had never directed a film. So I said, will you sell me the script? Sell me the script. Because I know I'm doing this film, but I don't know whether you can direct. तो फिल्म मुझे करनी है. तो he said, no, I'm not selling you the script. I want to make it. I said, अच्छा. I said, okay, I still want to do it, but I need to spend time with you. So I spent about 6 months, 8 months with him just to make sure that he'll direct it well. And he made a beautiful film. So I instantly decide, you know, what I'm doing. It doesn't take me time.
Go ahead.
Amir, to come here, and it's a dream come true to have an interaction with you. My question is, what do you think, what is the strength of IT industry, and what is one thing which you suggest us to change?
You know, this is one question I have no answer to only.
So it's good. We can
See, let me tell you something. Technology and me are so far removed. So far removed. I'll tell you one joke. Shah Rukh and I were, in 96, we were doing a show together in the US and UK and all that. And Shah Rukh is very into technology. Even at that time, he was up to date and all that. So वो time पे एक नया computer आया था, Toshiba. Toshiba का नया computer आया था. And he told me कि यार मैं ले रहा हूँ. And it's a latest computer with फलाना ढमका, वो सब RAM, PAM, वो पता नहीं क्या-क्या मेरे को बोल रहा था. So he said, I think you should also take this computer. I had never used a computer in my life. So I said, यार मुझे क्या जरूरत है कंप्यूटर की? He said, नहीं तू समझ नहीं रहा यार, तू देख उसमें ऑफिस डाल और तू ये डाल और वो डाल. फोन नंबर है सर, फोन नंबर है मेरे पास मतलब. तो मेरे को बहुत समझाया उसने. तो I said, नहीं तू एक काम कर, तू जो लेगा अपने लिए, तू वही चीज मेरे लिए भी ले ले. Whatever you're buying, you'll buy the best. Buy it for me. So poor chap, he went and he bought 2 computers, laptops. Laptop नया नया आया था वो time पे, 96. So he got his laptop, he got my laptop. I came back to India. That laptop, I did not open even one day. I'm not joking. उस लैपटॉप को 5 साल के बाद मेरा एक नया मैनेजर आया. तो उसने बोला, सर आपका एक लैपटॉप मैं देखता हूँ हमेशा पड़ा रहता है. Can I use it? I said, yeah, of course, please use it. तो he opened it. वो ऑन ही नहीं हुआ. It didn't come on only because it had become spoiled, I think. वो 5 साल पड़ा कुछ उसका जंग वंग हो गया था उसमें. तो So that is my relationship with technology.
Great.
Matlab, in my house, if I have to watch a film on Netflix or whatever, then I have to tell someone, my kids or, Susanna, my manager, someone has to put it on for me. Because that machine comes to know कि आमिर आया और फिर वो on ही नहीं होता है. The machines don't like me.
We'll take one more up there, back there.
Okay.
Yeah, the gentleman standing.
All right.
You,
Amir, my question is, when you take a stand out of love, and love is intrinsically bigger than fear, but when sometimes it's reciprocated by, let's say, hatred, which comes from entities and communities which are swayed and serrated by narratives, then how do you deal with that apart from ignorance?
That's a very tough thing here. It's a very tough thing. And I've asked many people who I respect a lot, and I've asked them this question, that when you do something out of love, but the other person reciprocates in another way and does something back out of hate, how do you deal with it? So, earlier, I used to deal with it in a particular way. What I used to do earlier was I used to cut off. I used to tell myself that this person doesn't deserve me. I'm a very special person, I believe. I'm a very special person in life. And the worst thing that can happen to this person is that I remove myself from his or her life. उससे बड़ा मैं उसको दुख नहीं पहुंचा सकता कि मैं उसके लाइफ से हट जाऊंगा. ऐसे मतलब मैं अपने मन में सोचता था to make myself feel good. But that's what I used to do earlier. But then, I stopped doing that. Because I felt that also is a negative thing. That is also a negative thing. What I've come to learn now is that it's important to engage. It's very important to always engage. In Jainism, there is one thought. Of course, there are wonderful thoughts in Jainism. One is non-violence, beautiful thought. Two is use only as much as you need. Don't use things unless you really need them. Third is anekantvad, which means that the other person may be completely opposite thinking from you, may have a completely contrary view to you, but understand that that person has a right to have that contrary view and give him or her the benefit of the doubt that he may be right and you may be wrong. Keep that small window open in your head. So, I believe that I want to now, my feeling is that when someone does an act of hate towards me, I try and give that person more love. I try and reach out more to that person. Because I feel somewhere that a lot of negative things like hate, comes from fear. जब आप मेरे से डरते हो ना, for some imagined reason you might feel scared of me. That's when you attack me. That's when you do something to me. But even after that, if I don't do something back to you which is harsh, and even after that, if I give you love, then I'm addressing your fear. And I believe that is the positive thing to do. Try and address the fear in the person. Okay, you don't need to fear me.
We'll take one more question.
But it's a difficult one. You have to keep trying. Sometimes you come across people who are mentally also sometimes not stable in a particular way.
Go ahead. Who has a mic? There. Right there, Amir, on the left. Go ahead.
So you're an amazing person and a good human being.
Thank you.
I don't have a question. I just have a message from a friend who got impacted by one of your shows, and she was not able to make it here today. So she has passed on a message. It's a long one, so I asked her to write it down. Can I pass it on to you?
Oh, yeah, please do. Please do, yeah. Thank you so much.
You can pass it on at the end of this, it's okay, yeah?
Okay.
We'll take, go ahead, sir. Who has a mic? I mean, we're going to go with mics for the moment.
Mic to पहुंच जाएगा, हाँ.
हाँ, भेज दीजिए please वहाँ पे.
Hello, Amir. Really
Hi.
great to have you here.
Pleasure.
So, since I'm not as charming as you are, and I'm sure I cannot see myself in movies forever in my life, but using virtual reality and technology, I really don't want to talk about technology here. Let's say you make a movie with Deepika Padukone and Katrina Kaif, who are my two favorite actors, and I watch that movie from inside my couch, and then I replace you as a character and put my character in that movie as part of the personalized experience. How do you see this happening going forward?
So you're saying with technology he can do that.
With
right? He
technology, you
change-
can do that.
He's saying the power of technology.
Yeah,
he can
I mean-
immerse himself into that experience.
I
and
don't
make it
want this
highly
virtual
personalized.
reality technology from you, but you know,
No, but
whatever
I'm
you
saying
feel.
with technology, if you can do that, then why do you need me in the first place? You can make yourself directly with Deepika and Katrina. You don't need me in the middle. मैं कबाब में हड्डी क्यों बन रहा हूँ भाई?
Thank you, sir. Wonderful.
Good. Thank you, Amir. Really, it's been terrific having you here. I must say you're an amazing storyteller. You're an amazing inspiration, certainly to me and hopefully to all of us. And I have to say it's amazing to see people like yourselves who have such amazing appeal to so many people using it for such good. So really, thank you
Thank
so
you.
much and thank you for being here.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to ask you two to stay for a moment.
Okay.
Hashtag Giving Matters, I don't think ever had as much of a deep, poignant and powerful meaning as it has had today. So we actually have a little token of our
outstanding.
appreciation
It
that
is
Rishad will hand over to Amir.
Give you a little.
And Rishad, thank you so much for chairing that session.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay.
So we do the NASCOM selfie at the end of the session. So all we're going to do, you don't need that, you can put them on the chairs. So we're going to turn it around to both sides. So one corner from that stage onto this side and one corner from this side. And we'll take the entire audience.
Guys, not on the stage, please.
Ladies and gentlemen, we cannot do this if you're on stage. We're all NASCOM, NTLF people. Let's get off stage. Can we all get off stage and we do it off stage? Okay, that's